Hello, this is Mrs. Duncan, and I wanted to talk to you about week 2 in the summer here. Our focus is on paintings, chapter 4, and I've just got some really important videos in here, so I'll keep this short, but always check your to-do list of what you should do. And the chapter reading here, I'm going to go straight to that. Right now, it's still free. Go back up to start here and look at textbook to see what you're supposed to how you're supposed to get that. You just set up the account, tell them it checks temporary access. So this is really fundamental. Chapter 2 is fundamental with artistic form and subject matter and content and participation. As we go through each genre, this is the genre of painting, it'll start out with the media, a lot of different things over here. The media of painting, which is, things that you need to know about, but really make sure, I want to just talk about the elements of painting because this is where the artistic form comes in. And so understanding what they're talking about is critical. And so they give you a painting, this one, Flaming June, really lovely painting here. And then they ask some questions about it. But I want you to look down here where it starts talking about line. It gives you the definition. It says it outlines shapes and can contour areas. So let me just stop to say, because I'm not trying to do a lecture on all of this, we have some of that in here, is that each of these terms go with this genre. So when we were talking about artistic form for painting, we start with line because that's what separates things, and then you add other things. You would talk about it with drawing too, right? We draw lines. Um, but with painting, they may sketch out first, and then they paint over it, but there's still some distinguishing between the lines. So sometimes they're very hard and sharp. They talk about that being a closed line, and sometimes they're soft and blurry. It's closed but a little softer, and then it mostly is soft and blurry, and they have links to different examples here. Okay, then they talk about how Goya used both closed and open lines in his painting, which we saw in chapter 2, Goya. And, it's kind of like with a photo or a camera focus, things that are in sharp focus, you see the lines very clearly. And if it's out of focus, maybe in the background, it's all blurry. And so you can do that with line. Another thing that they talk about, and they talk about axis lines, have to do with the balance and composition. And so there's quite a few terms. Color is a really important one. Very rarely is a painting just, monochromatic. And if it is, that's still a color, or just black and white. It's got colored. So there's different terms underneath that. There's primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors, and they give you each examples of that, complementary examples. And so the use of color is really important for artistic form in painting. It's one of the things we respond a great deal to. Texture is something that looks like it feels like something. So if it looks smooth or looks rough, and then composition, there are several things that go with that, with balance, being things symmetrically balanced or on an axis balance. They have asymmetrical. There's examples for each one of these that they're linked here. There's other things, gradation, movement and rhythm. If it looks like it's moving, implied movement, obviously, is a painting is very still. Proportion has to do with the size and the scale of that. If it's larger than life or proportioned, variety and unity. But they have examples for each of these. And you see, if you were talking about Georgia O'Keeffe's Rust Red Hills, in terms of artistic form, you would describe the lines, the use of lines, where they're hard and where they're soft. The use of color. What colors do you see, and then what category does that fall under? Use of primary, tertiary, secondary, complementary. How is this, composed? Is it balanced symmetrically? Is it exactly the same on the left as the right? Is it weighted evenly? Those types of things. Is there a unity to it? That's how you would talk about it. And it's brand new, but everybody, you're practicing and we're getting feedback. So let me go back to our content page. That's where you get the discussion. But you're getting a lot of help. This video right here is really great for talking about getting examples of talking about art with these different terms, the elements of art in famous paintings. That will help you a great deal. The 50 famous paintings video, that is really for your paintings project. It's not so much for this week. So, but if you want to pick one of those for your discussion. All right, so you're going to pick something, as a couple of you've already started, from the chapter, and you always have to identify what you're writing about, and we're focusing on artistic form, and that's number one. And then also, as you've looked at it, subject matter, content, and participation. Now listen, the only wrong answer really is no answer. Now some are stronger answers and some are weak, some are very well developed, and some are very thin. And that's what I'll have to evaluate when I read your discussion. But you need to give as much as you can from what you are analyzing it and looking at it and so forth, and try to do as much of that on your own. If you know, there's a reason why I have you post your own before you read everybody else's, because you need to, go out on your own and start that and then see and learn from others. Okay. We always have a chapter quiz, and then we've got a preview of your project, your paintings project, which is why we have the paintings video in here. So remember we're on a summer term, so we're a little faster paced than uh, a regular fall or spring term, but you've got a chapter, a quiz, and a discussion and a preview of start working on the paintings project. I'm and we'll very quickly be moving into midterms because we're only a 10-week course and midterms have to be about halfway through. So I'll be posting information about that and get you started on that no later than next week in terms of getting scheduled. All right, I just want to kind of overview things with you. Always read carefully the instructions and then look ahead to see where things are going. And hopefully that will be helpful to you.